As we wait and certainly hope for a diplomatic end to the war in Ukraine, ABC News Live is joined by Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, who served as a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine from 2016 to 2019. But before there was a war in Ukraine, there was an impeachment scandal many of you will remember, in which Ukraine became the centerpiece. In 2019, President Donald Trump asked Ukraine's newly elected president, Volodymyr Zelensky, to investigate his then opponent, Joe Biden, in exchange for weapons that would become crucial in the fight against Russia. Yovanovitch was caught right in the middle of it all and eventually became the target of a smear campaign by the Trump administration. President Trump then removed her from the post. Yovanovitch publicly testified against President Trump in his first impeachment trial. This is detailed in Yovanovitch's new book, Lessons from the Edge, a memoir. Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, kind enough to join us tonight. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking with us. Let's start right away. As you can expect, with the war in Ukraine, you lived in Kyiv for years. What's it like for you to watch all this unfolding?
Well, it's just devastating. It's just devastating. My neighborhood has been bombed along with the rest of Kyiv. But it's really, obviously not about me. It's about the Ukrainian people. And as I'm in touch with many people throughout Ukraine, and they are so resilient, so strong, so optimistic, even in the face of this destruction and a war of extermination, they're actually comforting me and saying, they're going to prevail, that they're okay, that they are strong. And today I also got, a meme that is going around Ukraine that the spring is going to come and it is going to be blue and yellow.
And do you have any hope that the talks between Russians and Ukrainians could eventually lead to a ceasefire?
Eventually. I'm not sure that that's where Vladimir Putin is right now, but I think it's important to keep lines of communication open. It's important to keep on talking, at least hopefully to get humanitarian corridors set up so that people can leave cities that are no longer inhabitable because of the barbaric aggressiveness of Russia.
And you worked at the time to help Ukraine deal with Russian aggression in 2014 when Crimea was seized. In hindsight at this point, do you feel that the Obama administration and NATO allies should have been more forceful in their response?
No question. No question. I think we did slap on sanctions. They were not nearly as strong as the sanctions we've got now. We did provide a lot of assistance to Ukraine, including training and equipping the Ukrainian military, but we did not provide javelins. I think there was a concern that that would be considered provocative by Putin. But the fact of the matter is, it's Russia that is the provocateur. By invading Ukraine in 2014 and now re-invading again, it is Russia that is the aggressor. And we need to provide as much assistance as we can to support and save Ukraine.
And you mentioned that you're an introvert by nature. Of course, you gained nationwide notoriety when you testified against President Trump. Now you're publishing a book. You also talk a lot about speaking truth to power. Explain why that's so important.
I think it's important that the American people understand what happened during the Trump administration, what happened with me, because in a democracy, you can't have a fully functioning democracy without information, without the truth, without reporters such as yourself getting information out there to the public so that they can make a decision, not necessarily that they would agree with me, but so that they can make their own decisions about what's been happening. And moving forward, of course, this has particular significance because of the war of Russian aggression in Ukraine right now.
And in your book, you also talk about the misinformation campaign that Trump began about you online. We're seeing the spread of misinformation now, once again, in the war in Ukraine. How can these false claims poison public perception?
Well, I think, you repeat it often enough and it gets into media, whether it's on social media or media such as TV and print, that people trust, and it becomes insidious. We need to be helping the American public understand the threat of disinformation, and we need to teach our children critical thinking skills so that they are healthily skeptical about claims that on the face of it seem absurd.
And Trump has praised Putin for years. We've seen some of that again recently. Do you believe that their relationship played a part into the timing of Putin's attack or Putin's confidence building that up?
Well, there's no question that President Trump's actions and his statements presumably emboldened Putin. And I think that Putin was getting what he needed from President Trump in terms of, while our official policy was very strong with regard to supporting Ukraine, but Trump made it pretty clear that to the extent he thought about Ukraine at all, he was dismissive, and he saw it more as a pawn that could perhaps help him with his personal and political ambitions than a sovereign country that deserves U.S. support. So, yeah, I mean, I think that President Trump's actions did embolden Putin.
And before this conflict, Russians and Ukrainians were said to be quite fraternal. Ukraine has only been sovereign, as you know, for just 30 years. How do you think this will alter the region going forward?
It's so ironic because there are so many, as you said, there are so many familial ties, cultural ties, even linguistic ties between the two countries, and of course, commercial ties as well. And, you know, wasn't without its complications, as is true with all neighbors, but certainly a relatively constructive relationship. And Russia, through its own actions in 2014 and now decisively in 2022, has sent Ukraine to the West. The Ukrainians are never going to turn back to Russia at this point. Never. Not after he has invaded them and destroyed their families and destroyed their livelihoods and destroyed their homes. It is appalling what he has done, all in the name of allegedly protecting people in Ukraine.
And you have 33 years of diplomatic experience. In your book, you say diplomacy is an art, not a science. At this point, in your estimation, what will it take to end this war in Ukraine?
Well, I think we somehow need to get to a place where Putin is ready to seriously talk. His negotiators are not, you know, from the inner circle. They're not, you know, fully empowered, I would say. And hopefully the assistance that we are providing Ukraine, not just us, but other Western countries, will be able to help the Ukrainians turn the tide so that there are different facts on the ground. I think Putin miscalculated. He miscalculated the abilities of the Ukrainian military, the will of the Ukrainian people to fight, and the heroism of President Zelensky. And so hopefully that combination plus Western assistance will change the facts on the ground so that there will need to be negotiations of some sort. Whatever happens, this is what I can tell you, there is no path to victory for Russia because the Ukrainian people will continue to resist.
And I am curious because you said that you feel that the diplomacy potentially down the road might be an option. Do you have any guesstimates as far as if we're talking about weeks, if we're talking about months?
I think this is going to play out over time, unfortunately.
Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, we thank you so much for your time tonight. The ambassador's book, Lessons from the Edge, a memoir, is out tomorrow.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.